that I've been in Texas this whole time.
Hello?
We got map it. There was a voice speaking on your computer.
Oh, there was, okay. The meeting started, okay, Monkey, so
This is where I lived. I got the two. That's where I lived.
otherwise turning on their flasher and parking in a travel lane, which would be very unsafe on both Main Street, Tile, and Laurel. So we feel that we have a unique situation where we don't have the luxury of having on-street parking that I feel is a critical component to having a successful rear load alley only development. So I think with the development we have, we are trying to do our best to comply with ERC standards from an architectural standpoint. We've added features. If you look in the top left corner of the overhead, one thing that we've talked to the staff about and Kyle's committed is between the edge of pavement and sidewalk, we would do a row of street trees, native Indian heritage trees throughout the development to once again, sort of give it the traditional look of having trees along the streets that you typically wouldn't have in a more contemporary or suburban subdivision plat. We do have the houses as close to the streets as possible. I think they're about a 25, 30-foot setback because that keeps them in line with the blocks that are further north on Main Street and more in keeping with the way the area is developed. Again, trying to achieve Range's objective of being something that is reflective of the surrounding development. The other thing that the RC development standard talks about is prohibiting drives, individual drives off of arterials. I know Main Street may be a little busier than normal or than in the past, but it's still recommended as a collector street according to the thoroughfare plan. So drives aren't necessarily prohibited off Main Street, but I think it was the desire to limit them if we could possibly work that into our plan. So those are the points that we wanted to make, that not every block in this historic area has an alley. The ones that do have alleys still have front road garages, still have driveways in front. We think that in our situation with the absence of some of those on-street parking opportunities, that we would like feedback from the commission that we're still treading okay to move forward through the plat process without complying with a rear-loaded only alley development. The other thing, and this I'll conclude with this, is the area down the middle where the alley would be likely be the best spot to go is already burdened with a drainage easement with an underground drainage tile that goes to Pendleton Ditch. We also have overhead electric down through there. And I think we're going to run gas through there, and all of our private laterals for sewer and water would come through going to each individual property, as opposed to trying to come off of the main streets, Laurel, Tile, and Laurel, Tile, and May. So the alley would also be a dead end alley. So while the alleys are functional in the historic areas of Pendleton, they're usually just through streets or through alleys. So trash pickup or anybody can go from one end of the block to the other. Our case isn't quite that unique, where when we get further south where the alley would likely continue, it falls down into the Pendleton Ditch, steep terrain area, and there's no opportunity to go left or right and connect to the other streets without sort of defeating the purpose. If you were to take an alley down the middle and then take it, say, to Main Street, then you're dumping all the traffic back out on Main Street at one location. And it's probably not an ideal location to discharge that traffic. We are only proposing 4 driveways on Main Street. We don't feel that that's going to significantly impede people's ability to travel through Main Street. We don't think it's going to create a traffic hazard. But what we would consider, if the board feels that this would be something that would help mitigate us not doing an alley, is we would take the 4 drives and combine them so we would only have 2. So we could have one curb cut off Main going into 2 different residences. So we're asking for the stretch of frontage we have on Main Street. We would propose 2 curb cuts. Then the others would be on Tile and Laurel, which are very low impact streets. And we think that if the commission would concede to collaborate with us on that modification or mitigation for a design going into the plat process, we think that's something that we would be able to entertain. And with that, Kyle, do you want to say anything, or you want to wait till you hear back from some of the members? Or
whatever you think I should do.
the other thing we did talk about, and I don't know if I brought it up at the public hearings, but Kyle has 3 of these lots already committed to. The buyers have already picked out their floor plans, which is a front load garage. He's got his commitment letters. They're concerned that the alley, rear loaded alley, is not what they signed up for. They're concerned a little bit about privacy and safety with the alley, rear loaded garages, and but he can share more on that. And then again, the house types that we would build are also showing above. They're very attractive, a lot of roof design, a lot of gables, a lot of accents, changes of materials. So it really does do what the RC is expecting it to do, and that is to mask the appearance of a front load garage. With that, I'm available for questions, or if you have questions for Kyle. And again, we're just looking for feedback.
I have questions regarding the design and with the garages. So the pictures appear that they are level with the front. So is there any reason why they couldn't have been set back a little bit?
The pictures are conceded. They are all set back, and I think they'll be set back. I think the ordinance requires us, it says, I don't know if it gives a dimension. Yeah, we're like 3 feet. I think there's a 3-foot bump back from the house to where that garage is.
So 3 foot is significant.
In architectural designs and a relief standard, yeah, 3 feet is significant. It creates the shadow, it creates the breakup of the massing that you would expect.
And the corner house, why is the garage up front? I would have expected the house pushed up and the garage, like basically L into the corner, and it's not, it's opposite, it's
Yeah.
flipped.
The corner lot, if you see the garage, that corner lot had that garage loaded as if it were being loaded off of Main Street, not Tile. We didn't want to put any more drives on Tile, on Main, so we put the drive on Tile. So that setback is 15-20 feet behind the front of the structure, if you face it that way.
But the house is still behind the garage. I know it's loading on the side, but I would have expected the house first. I don't know.
So
how
you're
to-
expecting the house first.
House and then the garage.
From Main,
I
from
think
Main
so the
Street, you
garage
see
is-
the house.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
From over
It
here.
looks
because
right?
it's still
Yeah.
facing
Yeah.
Main
It looks like
Street.
you're driving by a
It's not
garage with a
facing
house
it.
on the back.
Exactly.
The front of this structure, the way it's laid out, does face Main Street, and the house faces Powell Street. You may have to redesign something on those 2 corner lots.
I mean,
So the house would have been here and
Yeah,
the garage
yeah.
facing
Yeah.
Tile Street.
it says garages shall be clearly subordinate in size and use, and all I see on these elevations is garage doors.
There are 3 options that the RC allows for attached garages. Noticeably greater in setback, or rear side loaded, or 1/3 the mass of the front elevation. So not all of them necessarily have to be setback, or not all of them necessarily have to be 1/3. It's sort of, you kind of get a flexibility there. But we're committed to less than 1/3. I believe we can meet that standard and the setback.
The lots are only 60 feet wide, so the garage is gonna be less than 20 feet wide.
Kyle, how did you figure that out on your?
I mean, it's just been how you're looking at it. If you're looking at just the garage door, you're 16 foot wide on the garage door. So if you're looking just at the garage door, that's.
And so it's how big's your house? 40 feet wide with 10 foot on each side?
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I just don't see how you can meet the 1/3 requirement, so I think.
Yeah, so yeah, the houses, right now on most of those lots, we want to be around the 45 foot wide. We have the 10% side yards, so you use the 7.5 or whatever side yards for it. So that's what we were planning on trying to accomplish with that, to make that look. And then like, I know some of the designs that you see up there, it's a concept thing, especially that ones you're talking about on the, that is on the corners there. That is something that we can easily just switch around. Dave and I kind of put that together just because it's better to have a visual for everybody to see. But that perfectly makes sense what you're saying about, they have the house a little more to the front, the garage to the back. That's easy. Those two lots are not designed and ready. So we can easily work with that design change to those two.
So I would think,
How would you have one drive service two houses? Here you've got a drive on each house.
You're gonna have to flip where two houses have the garage at the same end. So he'll have to flip the footprint of one of these houses so that two garages are at the same end, and then the drive can go up and.
Like
branch
60th
out.
Street in Anderson, we're behind like 60th and Range Line.
Yeah.
There's those houses with that weird shared driveway.
And the one thing Hannah Rose and I discussed is that when we come in to apply for a building permit, they have to meet these architectural standards. So if it doesn't meet the 1/3, then it's got to meet the significant setback. If it meets a significant setback, then the 1/3 doesn't necessarily apply. But one of the three have to be met.
I mean, my thoughts are if you recess that garage further back, it's gonna allow more parking. You had mentioned earlier being on this road where there isn't any street parking, and people tend to fill a garage up with tools and lawnmowers and other things, so they don't even use it a lot of times for a car. And family with 2-3 cars, and then if they have visitors, so if you had that recess back, you're gonna have more space to pull in. So I'm thinking more of a traditional neighborhood in these historic districts where, I mean, the garage is at least set halfway back, so it's connecting. When you're in a garage, the door's connecting more in the back mudroom of the home and not the front. And a lot of times you'll have the porch with steps off to the drive as well. I don't know if I'm describing that, but that would then allow more parking for their visitors.
It's agreed, it's his design, but those are things that Kyle and I haven't discussed. But these are things, this is the feedback we're looking
Yeah.
for, exactly this feedback. We may not have all the answers, but at least we know what we need to take back to the drawing board if needed.
And just by impression, I don't get the feel that there's anything more historic, like elements to this. The one cottage, a little bit, there's some extra things within the gables, but all the others look like, 2 of them look like just very modern structures. One's kind of farmhouse a little bit. So just aesthetically, I don't feel that historic vibe to these.
Where are you at on the alley or as far as the town?
I just know that this would not technically be in compliance with the UDO. You're the body that would make the choice of whether or not to approve their primary plat with driveways or alley or both or something like that.
Is lot 11 even buildable?
Go ahead, Kyle, if you want to.
Yes, it's actually set up for a walkout basement, and that is a picture of the top left of those 4 houses is the one that's designed already with a walkout basement. I got a commitment from our customer if we can get things approved for that one. Wait a minute, lot 11, excuse me, I'm on lot 12, on my bad, right? Lot 11, yes, so the one thing with lot 11 is, I went to the Madison County Drainage Board and tried to get a reduction in the right of way. And they're fine with doing it, but they don't do it, and I talked to everybody else later, but they won't do it without a letter from the city saying that they accept it too, because I guess it's gonna become yours eventually.
Yes, eventually.
So, that's where I stand with that. So someone can have that solved for you. If we do get that 25 setback on the north side and the 50 foot on the south side, we get that total 75 foot. Then we can get like about a 40 foot, 42 foot wide house onto that lot. It's a very unique little design. You don't have much room to move it. So,
Yeah, lot 12 looks entirely encumbered by that existing. That's the one on Main Street.
Is it 11 or 12?
It's
12.
12's on Main
Yeah,
Street.
sorry, I
12's
Yeah.
completely-
12.
12's
So you're,
completely
so you're,
hashed
you've asked for 20, 25 on the north? What?
yeah, yes, sir. 25 on the north and 50 on the south.
Okay,
In that area, just, I think that part of the legal grade is piped right in that area. I don't think it's.
Yeah, we just put a pipe there, but we still need access to the ditch. Has a lot of potential for problems. If I could continue on with Hannah was saying. So one of my concerns also is that you're correct, Main Street is almost too narrow right there. There's a site distance issue. Right there where the culvert is. So I'm a little nervous about driveways. If we have street cuts on,
Particularly lot 12. because
particularly lot 12,
Depending on where that is, that concrete culvert is
right?
very hard
There's
to
a site
see.
distance issue, and then
Yeah.
you've got elevation issues too with. It drops off really fast.
I keep thinking about what the goal is to make this, when I'm looking at the RC description, front porches, alleys, shallow front setbacks. I guess I'm kind of a fan of an alley, just for that reason, is that we can make the house, what you see is in the house, you see the house instead of the garage. And I'm just wondering how we can make that look more like what the RC is intended to be. I don't like the idea of having a lot of trees blocking, especially if you're going to have driveways there. Trees can block the view, which is going to make that even more dangerous, I think.
Where did we have sidewalks?
We
There's
don't
no
have
sidewalks down
sidewalks.
there.
Right.
It
Yeah.
stops at,
No,
Todd Lane.
I mean,
It's-
on the proposed layout.
Oh, all around the perimeter.
Between the
Yeah.
curb and the sidewalk, so
Yeah.
you're correct. That could be something we may have to work through because we thought the treescape
Yeah.
would sort of be an extension of some of the existing trees that you have in the historic area, but that's a good point that I think you bring up. Covered porches we have, gables we have, mixed materials we have, setback significant, let's just say a different setback from the garage to the house we have. We'll may not be able to utilize the 1/3 on all of them, but we'll look at that. And then I do understand, and I kind of agree that the further back we can get a garage, it does break up where the house sticks forward.
Mhm.
There could be some landscaping between that house front and that garage front. But it would also give the residents more parking and opportunity for guests.
Mhm.
And not, be a burden on it. So those are things that we could take back and try to work through it.
You got a lot of land in the middle.
Well, do you want to talk a little bit about why that land is kind of not the best?
Well, everybody here knows the stigmatism around the land. I'm pretty sure. I'm not from Pendleton originally. My wife is. So we've moved our family here. We've embedded in the community. I'm a basketball coach. I've been here coaching here for 3 years now. So I live on this area. I know what's there. I've got the environmental reports. I got the soil borings. I got it. I know exactly what I got to do in every build. So it's when you go back towards that center, it kind of is not good. Like there's definitely not, when I say not good, it's just harder to build on. It's like a lot of concrete, a lot of blacktop, different stuff in there. Your soil borings, right? The further I stay up towards the streets, the cleaner it gets up in that area, on both sides, actually. So that's why we were trying to stay away from the middle a lot, to stay away from what's under the dirt up there, so.
For the record, it's all clean fill. It's just not necessarily the stablest to build a foundation on without having future cracks in it.
Are those, what are they gonna build?
Yeah.
Basements, right? It's like-
No, everything, the only place we tried to do a basement would have been on the north side would be on lot 11, which that'd be a walkout basement. It all falls off. It's almost set for it now, so I don't really have to dig a lot into that area. I know I'll probably have to deal with a little bit of stuff back there, but I mean, that's for me and the city to make sure we get the foundations, everything in correct.
So in that drainage, just for clarification, you're talking, you requested 25 feet from the center line of the ditch.
Well, it's a pipe, so that's kind of where we wanted, I think what we.
Well, it's only a pipe for,
Yeah,
we just modified it.
yeah.
I think we put it in these sections.
I know that I can leave this with you guys. This is kind of, we just did that, you guys later or whatever. So that dotted line's at 25 and that's
I'd
at
rather just
30.
call it Smith's Edition.
And if I go to the 30, I really need to get 25. I don't know if that's for them or not, but
Well, maybe. That's from your engineer that showed the
yeah,
two possibility
yeah.
line.
And
Yeah.
it would have to have that line, and
yeah.
it would cut off basically a line.
So one thing that we can report, and Rose, you can comment as well, but we've gone through all the departments for plat approval, and I think we've satisfied the requirements for all the other departments the way we've laid it out thus far.
As far as the ditch, well, I agree with probably reduce these, but I think we just need to. But yeah,
I don't
as
see an
long
issue.
as, yeah, we just need to be able to get in there. It's a
I mean, you know, I mean,
mess.
you've been out there a lot too, like, you know, you do still have quite a bit of room right there to drive through, so I don't think we'd restrict it. We could get backhoes through there or tractors.
Right,
And
yeah.
you have
25
ample
feet
room
or
to come the
so.
other way too, if you need to,
Yeah.
down your guys' easement, so.
Yeah, the per truck.
I mean, I don't know, I know that we're just looking for feedback tonight, I just want to, I'm just a small family builder, right? I'm not no big time builder. This is just me and my family going out on a limb, trying to, you know, get embedded here in Pendleton, do stuff. To be, the less I have to do in that middle back there, it's just easier for me and my family to get something accomplished. It takes a lot to start getting into that area back there, so we're just asking for your consideration.
Can you give us the soil report?
Yeah.
How many borings?
I had 8, I believe it was.
They were ever able to get the auger down there.
They did some spots. I mean, went down and hit the stone, the limestone and everything. So I know the worst I have to do is if I get into unstable grounds, I gotta go 12 foot. So then there might be a basement, a big basement if I have to go that deep, but most likely the engineer report states what kind of foundation or footers I need to put in. I'm gonna have probably extra large footers just to be safe, protect myself. I don't wanna come back and, 20 years and still trying to fix foundation issues, so.
So the rest of the foundations are gonna be slab then, is that what you're?
Yes, all the lots, up on the north side, but for that one lot that we were talking about, the lot 11, is that the number? They will all be slabs. I can't take no risk to dig much further, and I really need solid base on it.
So then is it even feasible to do an alley down the center because of what's going on in that dirt? I mean, is that even something that makes sense at all, even though it's part of our UDO? I mean, if it's not feasible on that dirt to do it because of what's down in that dirt, then how can we apply something that's not feasible
Well, there's
because of the dirt?
there are 3 things that we've considered. 1, the instability of the soil and the fill. 2, the utilities that need to go down and utilize that area that are either existing or proposed. And then 4, it's a dead end. So if you really wanted an alley that was functional for trash pickup, or let's just say trash pickup or fire, somebody,
Ambulance or something?
then the alley now becomes 20 feet wide with the 70-foot turning radius on the cul-de-sac. So it's really not an alley anymore, it's a subdivision road.
You just connect it to Laurel across lot 11 if you had to.
But we can't, other than loose line 11, yeah. I don't think we can do it.
I mean, I guess we just need to consider the special conditions of the site, whether we think a variance from that requirement's feasible. I think if there was more effort shown to make the garages less substantial, maybe it would be worthwhile.
And that would be my responsibility to show you how this is unique, this is different, and we're not just asking for it because we just don't want to do it. And we get that, but the feedback that you've given us tonight has been extremely helpful.
I have one more question, and this is maybe more for Hannah. With naming conventions of our subdivisions, I know the use of the falls, anything falls is a no-no. We have that as, please don't use that because it needs to be for special things. But as far as Arabian, that to me, I think it's school related, everything. And I know we tie in names to be part of the community, but is this,
I'm not aware. of
I
any
guess
name.
this is going into a
Yeah.
historic district. And again, I know this is minor, but it's something I want to bring up because
Yeah.
it wasn't brought up before. And now we have an addition called the Falls, where you think you're driving to the falls.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's other naming conventions that we've listed that we've specifically stated we're not going to use, or this is more reserved for something more in the
So
school
you're saying
zone.
we have in the past, we have something.
Well,
to sort of
I
guide
know
from,
that it's
or-
been, I thought it was stated that we would never use like the word the falls.
I think it was discussed. I don't know that there's a written
Yeah, I
down
don't-
rule.
Oh, okay.
But
Arabian Point sounds like it's across from the high school.
yeah.
Well, Coach Smith is the one that came up.
Yeah, I mean, the one.
What are you gonna do if you get transferred to Helens?
To be historic, it needs to be the
The one thing
honor.
that we are big supporters of the school system, and one thing that we're going to do on every lot is we're going to be donating about $500 proceeds to the youth basketball programs there, because I'm already a coach in 8th grade. I've already talked with the coach Ballard, the varsity coach, and the athletic boosters. So, I mean, that's not anything that's, I mean, really important, but that's the reason why we tied it in with that. And we just love being part of the community, and I just like being here, and I thought it was a really neat way to tie it all together. But if you feel like it's in the wrong area for something, I mean,
I was
change
just
it
thinking
some more
we're,
generic, I don't know.
I was thinking we're developing in a residential historic area to pull in the historic elements.
Well, it's also not gonna have signage, I'm assuming.
No.
It's not gonna say welcome to.
Okay.
The only
It's not
Arabian-
linked
the only
to-
Arabian Point you're gonna see is on your deed.
Is-
On your
yeah.
deed.
Okay.
So it's,
Okay.
I think it's a little different than a normal subdivision where they're like, there's Carrie
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a
Okay.
major
So
subdivision.
Are you fully aware of the, all
Good
your
point,
impact
yeah.
fees and the fees you're gonna be facing?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Impact fees? I'm not aware of every exact cost of them. No, not right now.
I highly recommend you get with Miss Hannah Rose. Investigate that tomorrow.
So I think this went up 38.
Well,
You're about 21, about 21,000 a lot.
21,000 a lot.
A lot.
What?
That's for permits, water.
Sewer.
Water, sewer, electric, impact fees,
For the city.
system development fees for electric, system development fee for water.
I have a breakdown of that.
That's okay, your
I
buyers
already-
can
I mean,
afford it. It's okay.
Even though I already put the water lines in, and paid for all
Well,
this.
that complicates it, yeah.
I paid for that personal water line already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, so how would, that's not relevant to the hookup fee. What you're talking about is reimbursement for the main.
There's a formula for that in the statute.
Right. So that doesn't exempt you from the hookup fees, correct?
That's
Just pass it on
that's
to your
right, but he
buyer.
has to have the it's,
And then I'm pretty sure they tapped, some of them have some taps already done, so.
all that will come into, it
Okay.
all gets thrown in the
We worry about
bowl and we
that.
figure it
Minor
out.
detail.
Advising me on that. I came from Noblesville and Westfield building. I'm kind of used to some of these fees, especially park fees and roundabout fees.
That's a new one. We have to do that.
Roundabout fees, they get children. That's like, write that down, Counselor.
No more ideas. But again, no vote, just looking for your feedback, and we've got exactly what we wanted, so thank you very
Okay.
much.
Please do your homework on the fees, I
Yeah.
don't want you to be surprised.
Tim, I did have one comment. I just wanted to know how you guys felt about the shared driveways that they had proposed. If that would be something,
So I mean,
I can't really.
They can make
Kinda
the
picture-
house look okay, fine, I mean, it's less
You gotta
driveway
picture it.
cuts on the road, but I don't know how you're gonna do it.
I gotta look at it.
It's the same amount of traffic.
Yeah.
It's
I'd have to,
similar
I'd have to
house.
see the elevations of
You
it.
know, when you're driving down the street and you see the house, you see a bunch of cars parked like this for this house and this house. And it's not spread out. It's not. I think it's better when they're separated because then you feel like you've got trees and landscaping. Otherwise, you feel like you got a bunch of cement and that all together. in
Like a
one
parking
place.
lot.
So you're saying, not this, we'll take the advice of the town manager, but separated may be preferred over combined, or
We don't know yet.
just don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
and so are we saying no alley is okay?
I don't think
There's
I
a
don't
lot of
think we
things
said
you can't
that.
get out of it. You got trash truck can't get out of it, the ambulance can't get out of it. It's got nowhere to go then, they can back out of it.
I mean, you just take it over here.
but they
I mean, yeah, use that lot.
You wouldn't, I mean, it's only 20 feet wide.
That was just the one thing I didn't really hear any feedback on, so I wanted to make sure that they got something from you on the shared
Yeah.
driveway.
We want
thoughts.
to bring a proposal back with an alley, elevations.
I
I'd like
like
to
it.
see it.
I'd like to see how we
We'd
can
like
do
to
it.
see an
If
alley
it's
option.
possible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a
I'm sorry, I
deal
was asking a
breaker.
question, Kyle, there. So you're talking about bringing the alley all the way down the center and then want to turn it to Laurel?
Well, I mean,
Does
just
that
to,
become a road then? Because Laurel's kind of a road, right?
yeah, I mean, it would be an alley on like lot 11. It's just an idea because like you said, you can't really just dead end the alley because you can't turn around or, provide any services. So,
And right there at lot 11, if I take, because there's a power lines, overhead power lines running right down between lot 11 and, excuse me, I don't remember the numbers. right
along the
now.
lot line.
Yeah, and then, so you gotta push the alley. from one
Yeah, so
side to The other.
that may
and now
not
we
work.
Lose all, a lot 11 in the walkout basement there.
I mean, I think at least come up with a rough concept of the alley and then maybe come up with some updated architecturals. Or, if you're gonna do individual driveways to minimize the impact to the garages. I would think side load or rear load, maybe not rear load, but side load, front porches would be preferred. Based on the ordinance.
I think we gotta look at some site distance issues.
Yeah.
For the
that's-
driveways, yeah.
I mean, can we do an alley, with the way that the dirt is, because that was like an old dump. I mean, can we even do an alley? I mean, how far down would you have to go to even put that cement in there so it wasn't buckling up later?
You have to start digging and find out all that, because I don't have soul burns right down in the center right where the alley would be. But once you start digging into it, you never
I
know.
mean, he's got underground to be right underneath the alley and stuff too, so.
I think what I was hearing earlier was, and then where I was prepared to come back is, we need to make a case for not having the alley. And it can't just be, we just don't want to do it. It has to be a combination of things. Construction, existing utilities, proposed utilities, and then no parking on any of our frontages, which I think is significant. If you have an alley, you don't have parking on Main Street. I just can't fathom how you would comfortably get your friends and guests to your home.
Well, be careful because you're arguing.
Ask the people on Pendleton Avenue.
You're arguing our point. Yeah, if you get back, be careful because you're arguing that widen the street for the town of Pendleton,
Yeah, you
Main Street for the town of Pendleton, or Lowell Street, or.
You could provide parallel parking on the street
Yeah.
frontages.
Well, yeah, but obviously for 10 lot development that.
Right.
There's no way that would
I
be
know.
feasible.
I know, that's why I said you gotta be careful what you're arguing for, so.
We are dedicating the right of way
No, I know.
to
What-
allow it to be widened.
What is that gonna be?
I think they're additional.
We're picking up additional, I think, 5 feet on all frontages,
For the sidewalk.
but it's still a collector on the thoroughfare plan, so it's really not proposed for any improvements.
So as far as them coming back in May with a primary plat, that's kind of their next step. So I imagine you'll kind of take this back. I know we're not in any sort of like the actual design of the house phase yet, but the primary doesn't really take care of that. I don't know if there's any, conditions that when they approve the primary plat, it has to
Well, you could have
go
a
through.
house setback and a garage setback line that pushes the garages
Yeah,
back.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as the actual architecture of it, I'm not sure.
I
we're
just
quite
wanted to
there.
bring that up
Yeah,
now,
no,
since
I
this
think
is
it's a great
discussion
point.
only, so
Yeah.
that's implanted, and those are things that can be thought about. I know there's hard work with all the single lots that are being built to look very historic. I think there's a couple of construction things like across the street there, one on the corner and one, I think, either behind it or two back. Last time I drove around that area. So again, it's just implanting that to have that historic feel and those features, which rolls into offsetting or that
Yeah,
garage.
right, which to your point would be present on the primary plat where all of the lines with the setbacks.
And make your front elevations as attractive as you can.
Mhm. Minimize the look of the garage.
And you're gonna look at site
Yeah, just town manager thinking right now. This is actually opening a can of worms, because Main Street's a big issue, because as traffic increases. It's a narrow street, come flying off Pendleton Avenue onto it, but yet it's a historic street, for street, so it's not like you can limit on what you can do to restrict traffic. It's as we grow, it's just quickly. It has been for years. I'm just adding driveways to it is just. It's gonna accelerate the problem that we have right now. The community's so aware of it.
We can't widen that road
And widening that road is really, really difficult.
because of the pipe.
Yeah, I mean, we could tear into that limestone culvert a little bit. But at least widen it to Madison. People are smart at that stuff than me.
Appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Comments, questions, board? Staff?
No.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey, who approved this building permit of this house in the legal drain? Did you see that on the plat?